Hi there, in this screencast I'm going to show you how to use paint.net to make a sprite with a transparent background and then recolor one portion of the sprite. So a sprite is a small image that is used in a video game. It can be an image that will be animated, or it can be one that's just going to be stationary. So any image at all that's put on the screen during a video game is called a sprite. So I'm going to just download a sprite sheet. So what is a sprite sheet? A sprite sheet is a set of sprite images that show a character or a thing of some kind demonstrating specific motion patterns. So they're the individual images that when they're showed very quickly in a sequence, it makes the sprite appear to be demonstrating some kind of motion. So for your button bashing game, even though we're not going to get into animation and motion, if you are interested in including it in your button bashing game, you might want to download a sprite sheet to use for your single image. So I'm going to go and I'm going to download this one with this nifty caveman. And then once I download it, I'm going to go to Show in Folder, and then I'm going to right click on it and do Open with paint.net. Now if you don't have paint.net installed on your computer, see me and get my attention and I will install it for you. Or you can start the process by going to the F drive under Intro to Comp Sci. I think there's a folder called paint.net that has the install file for it. So I have a little caveman here and I want one of the images, not all of them. So there's two things you can do. You can crop, well, really probably the easiest thing to do is to crop the entire image into a single image that just displays one of the sprites. So what you need to do is go to the upper left hand corner and do pick rectangular select out of the tool menu, and then you're going to draw a rectangle around one of the images. All right, and I'm going to want to make sure that I get all of it. So all right. Okay, so then you're going to go to the image menu and you're going to do crop to selection. Okay, so now I have, I'm going to call this image Caveman 1. Now you're going to want to use, save your images as either GIF files or PNG files, PNG files, because those two image types support a transparent background, whereas JPEG do not, and some others do not either. So I'm going to call him Caveman 1. Now I'm going to move and put him into the images folder of my Greenfoot project. So the images folder of the Greenfoot project, whatever you put into the images folder will automatically appear in the drop-down menu or the dialog box that appears when you're setting the image for a sprite or the background. So I'm going to put my, let's see, image. I'm going to put that image, I'm going to save it to images. All right, so I'm going to call it Caveman 1. All right, and now I'm going to give it a transparent background. So the easiest thing to do really is to use the magic wand. Now this technique will work with real photographic images. However, the more different colors you have in the background and the more complex the background is, the trickier it is to use the magic wand tool to get rid of the background, in which case I'll show you what you need to do. Okay, so I just click anywhere in the portion of the image that I want to remove, and this tolerance, if you it detects slightly different hues, and if you have it to close to 0, it's going to differentiate between just tiny differences in the color. And then if you make it much bigger, it will not detect differences and pretty much take a bunch of colors to be the same color. So you can play around with that, dragging that bar back and forth until you get it so that pretty much the background's removed. Then all you have to do is click the delete button. All right, and now I'm going to immediately save that. All right, now let's say that I did have a photograph and I wanted to remove the background from the photograph. Well, you can try to use this magic wand technique that may give you success, but if there's not much contrast between the sprite or the thing that you want to keep the image of and the background, you may have some problems with it. In that case, you can actually just use the eraser tool. So to use the eraser tool effectively, you really want to zoom in. So I'm going to try to zoom in, and eventually you'll get down to the pixels. All right, now if I go to the tool menu and I do eraser, this should appear where it says brush width. That's going to control how many pixels at a time I'm going to erase. And it will draw this nice circle to show you what region is going to be erased. So obviously I wouldn't want that much in this case. I might do like, something like that. And if you go really carefully, you can even pretty much manage to do this with a mouse. If you really want to be accurate about it, I can lend you my tablet PC which has a stylus, which can make it easier if you're doing something really complex and a little bit more accurate. But for the most part, you can do it with a mouse. Alright, so since that wasn't the case here, I'm just going to undo my changes, and then I'm going to keep the image blown up or zoomed in because I'm now going to change the color of his clothing, or whatever you call his caveman outfit, from yellow to, I'm going to make it maybe red. So I'm going to go to paintbucket, and now how do I know what color or what color is going to change where I click to? Well, if you go to this little color wheel, and whatever it says as primary, that is what color you're going to get when you use the paint bucket tool and you click on some region. So I'm going to make red my primary color, and now I'm going to click in this region, and once again there's a tolerance so that it's a little bit like the magic eraser. The higher the tolerance, the more it's going to identify colors as being similar and just replace all of them together. If you drag it, you can see that it's being more and more selective as you make it you make tolerance be really low. So I'm going to pick an amount that is just enough to get rid of the yellow, and then I'm going to do it there as well. So now I think oops, let me undo that one. I'm going to increase the tolerance because I want to even be fussier about it. There we go. So if you increase the tolerance enough, you can get down to pretty much just doing 1 pixel at a time. But you decide on how much you want to go with it. I would recommend, I really don't want you spending more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes working on this. I really would prefer, unless you're getting into animating a sprite, if you're just picking 2 images for the button bashing game, spend 15-20 minutes at tops doing this. So now I'm going to save the image, and I'm going to call this one Caveman 2. All right, and I want to make sure that I save it as a PNG file or a GIF. I guess I like GIF. And believe it or not, the person who invented the GIF file referred to it as a GIF file, not a GIF file. There's a lot of controversy in geek circles about that, but it really is pronounced GIF since the founder pronounced it that way, or the inventor of it. So that's just an aside. All right, so now I'll have my two images that I can use, that I'm going to use in my button bashing game. So there'll be a few questions that will follow in Google Classroom and possibly even YouTube, although I think I'm probably gonna post them with the video in Google Classroom. So you should answer the questions in the Google Doc that I have provided to you. All right. After this, we'll get ready to start our game, or start programming and setting up our game.